Emily Browning, a young professional in her mid-20s, yearned for a break from the hectic city life. Living in the bustling metropolis had worn her down, and the prospect of a summer escape to Martha's Vineyard on the ferry promised the tranquility she desperately sought. She envisioned long walks on the beaches, the warmth of the sun on her skin, and a respite from the relentless pace of city living. The ferry ride began as a dream come true. The salt-laden breeze tousled Emily's hair as she gazed out over the moonlit waters. The stars above twinkled like distant promises of the summer adventures awaiting her on the island. A handful of fellow passengers and crew accompanied her, forming a small community in the middle of the vast expanse of the sea. However, the tranquility shattered when the ferry's engine let out a strained groan and then fell silent. The sudden stillness unsettled Emily, and murmurs of confusion and concern rippled through the passengers and crew. The vessel drifted in the inky blackness, an eerie silence replacing the comforting hum of the engine. The radio crackled and died, plunging them further into isolation. Panic set in as the navigation systems flickered and the lights blinked out, leaving the ferry adrift in the moonlit darkness. Emily's sense of excitement curdled into anxiety as she and the others fumbled for flashlights in the enveloping gloom. Among the small group of passengers, Emily found herself in the company of an elderly couple, a young family with a child, and a solitary man, Jake, who seemed as eager for an island escape as she was. The 4 crew members, visibly distressed by the unfolding situation, attempted to restore order, but their efforts were in vain. As the group grappled with the disorienting blackout, a sinister presence lurked in the shadows. Unbeknownst to Emily and her fellow passengers, a hidden danger had stowed away on the ferry, a malevolent figure with a dark agenda. As the minutes ticked away, Emily and the others attempted to make sense of the situation. The crew, growing increasingly anxious, huddled together with the passengers. In the confined space, tension thickened, and the once promising journey became a haunting ordeal. Suddenly, a scream pierced the air. Panic erupted as the group stumbled upon the lifeless body of one of the crew members, a ghastly display of violence etched across their face. Fear gripped the passengers as the realization dawned. An intruder, a sinister figure concealed among them, had struck. The crew, now reduced in numbers, scrambled to secure the ferry. Emily, Jake, and the remaining passengers were thrust into a nightmarish game of survival. The killer, cunning and ruthless, hunted the crew one by one, leaving a trail of terror in their wake. The once familiar ferry had transformed into a claustrophobic labyrinth where every corner held the potential for danger. Emily felt a surge of fear coursing through her veins. The confines of the ferry seemed to close in on her as she clutched the flashlight, scanning the dimly lit corridors for any sign of the assailant. The group, once unified in the pursuit of relaxation, now fractured into fragments of vulnerability. The remaining passengers and crew members, now aware of the lurking danger, attempted to navigate the narrow passageways, their flashlights casting long shadows on the walls. Emily's heartbeat quickened with every step, her senses on high alert. Whispers of dread echoed through the ferry as the killer continued their relentless pursuit. In the oppressive darkness, the passengers found themselves at the mercy of the unknown assailant. Emily, Jake, and the others were forced to hide in the nooks and crannies of the ferry, their breaths held in fearful anticipation. The killer, their presence shrouded in shadows, seemed to move with an otherworldly grace, evading capture. One by one, the crew members succumbed to the relentless pursuit. Their terrified whispers and muffled cries for help resonated through the narrow corridors, leaving the survivors paralyzed with fear. Emily, clinging to the hope of escape, realized that the ferry had become a spectral battleground. As the night wore on, the group faced the grim reality that the killer was among them, striking with malevolent precision. Emily, Jake, and the remaining passengers banded together, armed with makeshift weapons, determined to make a final stand against the relentless adversary. In the heart of the ferry, the group confronted the killer, a faceless silhouette that emerged from the shadows. The ensuing struggle was chaotic, the confined space amplifying the echoes of their desperate fight for survival. Emily, driven by a primal instinct, fought alongside Jake and the others, the odds stacked against them. The killer, seemingly satisfied with the carnage, retreated momentarily. Emily, stained with the blood of her fallen comrades, felt a mix of exhaustion and determination. The remaining survivors, now a fraction of the original group, faced an uncertain fate as the ferry drifted in the moonlit waters. The ferry, now eerily silent, bore witness to the massacre that had unfolded on its decks. Emily, her senses heightened by the encroaching darkness, faced the stark reality that she was the sole survivor. The malevolent force, having claimed its victims, retreated into the shadows, leaving Emily to grapple with the aftermath. In the dim light, Emily hesitated. The whispers, now subdued, seemed to echo the malevolent laughter of the unseen adversary. The ferry, a graveyard of broken dreams, drifted in the moonlit waters, carrying the weight of the unspeakable terror that unfolded on its decks. As Emily cautiously navigated the desolate corridors, each step echoed the haunting events that had transpired. Her breath caught in her throat as she moved towards the ferry's control room, a sinking feeling that she was being herded, lured into a confrontation with the killer. The control room, bathed in an eerie glow, revealed the remnants of the malevolent force's presence. Emily, her senses on high alert, sensed the killer's unseen eyes watching. The whispers, now a sinister symphony, urged her to face the inevitable showdown. The killer, a faceless silhouette, emerged. Emily, armed with a makeshift weapon, steeled herself for the confrontation. As he approached, Emily swung, striking him on the arm. The killer, stumbling back, made a move to grab her. Emily, seeing her chance, took off. She ran through the ferry and out onto the deck. She desperately tried to calm her breath and erratic heartbeat as she shrunk down and tried to make herself invisible behind the mesh netting seats. Emily, unable to control her panic, desperately started to look around for any sign of the killer after a few minutes of not knowing where he might be. Emily, taking deep breaths, eyed the side of the boat. If she could just make it to the side, she could jump in the water and wait for a rescue the next day. She gave herself a few seconds to prepare, and just as she was about to stand up, a warm, fanning breath drifted across the back of her neck.